You're listening to Al Pastor, the show that helps you love God, love your neighbor, and eat more tacos. I'm your host, Pastor Brian. Welcome to the show. Well, hello to everybody that's listening today or tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this. Maybe you've been wondering, where have you been? Why haven't you podcasted in a while? Well, I got sick there for a good 2-3 weeks. It was kind of up and down. I'd have good days and bad days. My throat, my nose, it's just whatever this is that's going around, by the way, it just seems like it hangs on longer. Who knows what it is? I don't want to say those dirty words on a podcast, about that sickness that's going around. So we won't go there. But anyways, I'm glad to be back. I really am. I missed podcasting. I really do enjoy this type of content where I can just hit record and go. And really, I appreciate those of you that tune in. So we are starting a new study for the year. We're going to take an entire year and we're going to go through the first 5 books of the Bible. That's incredible, guys. That really, really is. We're going to talk a whole lot more. I'm going to do an entire episode as to like the rationale, the leading, or the why. But for now, we're going to get into today's reading, which is the first book of the first 5 books of the Bible, which is known as the Torah or the Pentateuch, or we could say the books of Moses. What's the difference between those? Well, Torah is the Hebrew term for the first 5 books. That's what Jews and Hebrews would call those writings. In Greek, it would be known as the Pentateuch. So think about how that word breaks down. It's a 2-part word, compound word, Pentateuch. Penta means 5 or 50. Like Pentecost, that's the 5, right? We'd say like maybe pentagram, the 5-sided. So that's the terminology. I prefer Torah. Why? That just rolls off the tongue easier. And quite frankly, it's kind of funny. I have a hard time spelling Pentateuch. And I like Torah a whole lot better. So our reading begins today in the book of Genesis. And it's only 12 verses. Now, we have to acknowledge first and foremost, this is really light reading. The intention is that you would study. And believe me, as we get into the book of Genesis, we will not be at a loss for things to study. So I want to come right out of the gate and acknowledge that, and also say to you, give yourself some grace. You're not gonna know everything. We're in a marathon, okay? We're not in a sprint. So give yourself grace, but don't give yourself enough grace that it's a license to sin. And in other words, meaning, well, I'm not studying anything. The intention is for you to study something. I want to give you a really good example because I think that this is relevant. Marcia and I this morning kind of went over our reading, having coffee, and she said, I probably should have brought her on the podcast, by the way, so she could have explained it herself. But she's like, I have so many questions in here. And I said, that's okay. That's good. And it was almost in the sense that I have so many questions that I don't know where to begin. So I said, oh, okay. I said, let's focus it down. So first thing that we would do is we would do our reading, and then we would say, what stood out to me, right? What is it that I want to know more about? What is it that I can document? And I may get the answers or become satisfied quickly. And there may be some things that will require a little bit more depth to my study. So I told her, I said, let's do this exercise. Pick a few things. So she said, well, here's the first one. It's the thing about the light. She's like, you said at church, the sun wasn't created until the 4th day. What was the light? Because we're reading here, let there be light. And so I explained to her the simple answer, obviously, the light is the glory of God. And the Bible does tell us that the Lamb is the light. Where do I get that from, by the way? If you want to look this up for yourself, it is Revelation 21:23. Let me read it to you. So this is at the end of the book, right? The end of all things, when there's a new heavens and a new earth. The Bible says in Revelation 21:23, the city had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God illuminated it. The Lamb is its light. That is beautiful, guys. That is beautiful. Meaning the source of light is the glory of God. So notice how God chooses to manifest himself to creation, to reveal himself. He does so through light, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. So we went through that, and she said, okay, that makes sense. I get it now. No big deal. And so here's what I told her. I said, okay, Marcia, I said, here's the thing. I said, do you realize that you and I have had this exact same conversation before? She's like, no, I don't remember. I said, well, I promise you, you and I have actually had this conversation. And I've had it with lots of people. And I think it was probably 2 years ago, could have been 3 years ago when we were reading the Bible. This is a common question. It's not a bad question. It's a good question. But I told her, I said, in the way that I took 2 or 3 minutes to explain it to you, you're satisfied now. Now you're going to move on. Here's the intention behind studying. I believe that if you, and I'm talking to all of us now, even those of you that are listening, I believe, yes, you can ask questions and get simple answers. But I believe that if you go through and you discover this for yourself, meaning you earn it, you go through the work, you're not going to forget it. But if you come and you just say, hey, what's the answer to this? And I give you, a quick, simple answer, you're going to forget it. Really. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just you don't appreciate what you don't earn. Isn't that true? Like we talk about that with money and with our children and stuff. Like you want your children to earn something so that they can appreciate it more. Like you need them to work for it and earn it versus just giving them something and then they don't take care of it. Whatever it is, whether it's an electronic or a pet or, you name it. But isn't this true in life? We appreciate the things that we earn more. So that is the intention behind this study. And I'm not against answering questions. Like we should bring our questions to the table, right? So that's a good example of what we're doing. So I said, okay, Marcia, this would be a case of you, and whatever your method, whatever your process is, I personally would recommend documenting that. Meaning, here's a notebook, here's a little journal, and I write down, I want to know about the light. And then you begin to go through and research just a little bit because we have these tools that are available to us, right? We've got the Bible software. We've got various different resources. And then you take that time. Now, am I going to feel bad if Marcia spent 2 or 3 hours studying out and she just, she tripped on this, she tripped on that, and she fell down and she just read way too much? No, because when she discovers that answer, it's going to be valuable to her. Not only that, she's going to develop and gain skills in studying that she never would have otherwise had. In other words, she's going to learn from her mistakes and from her failures. She's going to say, you know what? I spent way too much time on this when it really didn't serve the purpose. Or I can do this just a little bit better. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. So this is let me bring it full circle. This is the intention, is that we would study. So we continue to talk, and I said, the other intention is not just to study. That's a big one, right? But it is also to deposit something in your heart that you're going to focus on and you're going to meditate for the day. That's That's the intention, and right? All good intentions. I don't know what the saying is. I'm trying to think of the saying, like all good intentions. I don't have anyone here to help me, so I don't even know what the saying is, guys. But until we actually start to walk out those intentions, like everyone has good intentions to start a diet, right? Intentions mean nothing until you actually begin to take those steps towards it. I guess that's what I'm getting at. So yes, I am using the word intentions, but that is the purpose, is that we would study, but also it is to take a verse or a theme or a concept and just let it meditate on for the whole day. So what am I doing? I'm taking Genesis 1:1 and I am meditating. I am, another good word, food word, marinating. I'm letting it soak in, right? And I'm thinking about it. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What an incredible verse. This verse right here is just astounding. So what am I going to do with that? I'm going to think about it. I'm going to chew on it. I'm going to tear it apart in a good way, right? Like I'm going to look at it from every angle that I can. Scientific angle, a language angle, a critical angle, just an astounding and awe and appreciation, like looking at a mountain, standing back and admiring its beauty, or a painting. This is what I'm doing for the day. Well, how does that look like? Well, here in a little bit, I'm going to the gym. Yes, I'm going to the gym, guys. So as I'm driving to the gym, guess what I'm going to be thinking about? I'm going to be thinking about, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. When I begin to work out, now I'm not pushing weights, but I'm going to jump on a treadmill. When I'm on the treadmill, I'm going to be thinking about several different aspects of this. This is the idea. So what's so great about Genesis 1:1? I just want to share with you some of the thoughts that I'm at right now. Genesis 1:1, when you look at just this statement in itself, it obliterates our cultural biases, the sciences, the education that's today that questions everything in a bad way, right? I believe in questioning, but not in the sense of what it has become from an educational standpoint, really a religious standpoint, when you look at it as far as evolution and humanism and all of these different things. This just blows it right out of the water. I mean, it is God that created the heavens and the earth. And so when I look at the original intention, now many scholars have determined that the first 11 chapters of Genesis is what's known as a polemic. And you might say, well, what's a polemic? Let me give you the dictionary definition of a polemic. It means a speech or a piece of writing expressing a strongly critical attack on or controversial opinion about someone or something. So a polemic is sort of like, to put it in our love language today, it would be like a response video. Like somebody said something about you and you are going to make a response video. Or there can be a false idea and you're trying to set it straight. For instance, Governor Newsom not too long ago put up a billboard and said, he said, love thy neighbor. And he was promoting abortion clinics, right? Well, if you were to stand up and speak against that, that would be called a polemic. So most scholars have identified Genesis 1 through 11 as a polemic. And you might say, well, what are they coming against? They're coming against the world system that had been declaring that the earth was created by all of these false notions. Well, what would those be? Well, the three main empires at this time, the main three, would be we would have the Babylonian Empire, we would have the Assyrian Empire, and the Egyptian Empire. I mean, these go back to ancient Sumeria, okay? And all three of them share a common creation story, and they're named different. Like, for instance, the Babylonian is called something, it's called like the Enu Elamish. I think I'm saying that right. So it's not like anybody's going to fact check me on my pronunciation, right? So in a nutshell, these all have their origin essentially at Babylon, which says that there were multiple gods that created the earth, and there was, some kind of conflict, and the source is just not quite right. In other words, we would say fake news, just like I would say with evolution, fake news. So we have the true account of creation that's being documented right here. And this blows those all out of the water. I mean, big guns, right? In the beginning, God, singular, although the word for God is plural. Oh, I would love to get into that. But singular, God himself created the heavens and the earth, a triune God. It was God the Father, God the Son, Jesus Christ, and God the Holy Spirit, the three in one creating the heavens and the earth. So, well, is it a polemic? Sure. The next step is, you could really, really get into this, is, what was it a polemic? Which one exactly? Was it the Egyptian? Was it the Babylonian? When? Where? That stuff's all fascinating. And I encourage you, get into it. Whatever it is that's going to get you into it, that's going to get you into thinking biblically, okay? Whether it's the background, ancient Near Eastern text, or whether it's the scientific aspect, right? Now we have to stand back for a second, because God is not giving us, this is not a science textbook, although you can find some, I guess, type of science in there. But for the original audience it was being written to, is written by Moses, written to a people that was wandering in the wilderness. We're not talking about science, but you can get into science. Does that make sense? He was writing to let them know, hey guys, you know that for the last 400 years, you guys have been living in that land of Egypt, and they've been the world dominant superpower. And guys, you know how they say that the world was created, and we have Ra, the sun god, and Atum, and all of these different gods that created and had their hand in this, and this one was at war with this one, and all of those stories? He's like, we need to set some things straight. We only serve one God, and he's the Most High God, and this is the God that created the heavens and the earth. He is the eternal one, self-existent one. This is the context of what we are reading, folks. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So let's keep the main thing, first and foremost, not at the exclusion of diving and digging and putting on your boots to go walking in the mud into all those other things. Do that if you got time. Do it if whatever it takes to let it be enjoyable. So yes, you want to get into the light, right? And remember though, the Lamb is the light. The light is the glory of God. Jesus said, I'm the light of the world. I can give you tons of other things. Maybe you've got a thing about the firmament, right? Like, man, I don't understand this whole thing about a firmament. Well, in verse 8, it says God called the firmament heaven. So we have 3 different layers of heaven. We know that. Paul said in the New Testament, I was caught up to the 3rd heaven. Yes, there are 3 heavens. Heaven number 1 is the sky, the atmosphere. Heaven number 2 is where the stars live, right? That's outer space. And then the 3rd heaven is where God dwells. So in verse number 8, God called the firmament, the space between the waters. Yes, there were waters above and waters below. He called that heaven. We would call that, our language today, is sky. But Marcia was telling me in Portuguese, it's all called heaven. So they don't differentiate. They don't say sky, outer space, and heaven. It's all the same word. And I don't remember. It's kind of like Spanish. In Spanish, it's cielo. I think in Portuguese, it's ciel or something like that. But she's like, yeah, you have to, it's the context that determines what it is. So you would say like the bird is flying See that bird flying in heaven? In English, we don't talk that way. But I guess in Portuguese you do, so you learn something new every day. But anyway, verse 8, so maybe you want to get into this, the waters that were above the firmament. What is all of that about, right? Hey, I'll tell you a good book if you want to study it out. If you want to study out about the firmament, you need to get the Genesis Record, which is a scientific and devotional commentary on the Book of Beginnings. That's the title of it. So, folks, I've posted that on Faith Life. You can also go to the website. I've got a website called BrianOverturf.com. Not trying to plug it or be self-promoting. I get nothing out of this. In fact, I pay personally out of my pocket to be able to do that. So, no self-promotion involved, but you can go to BrianOverturf.com. You will see just a little blurb about what we're doing for the year. Also, I've got recommendations. And on those recommendations, I go through and provide you with some links for some recommended resources. You might say, well, Pastor, some of you love Logos, some of you have a hard time, and I can understand why, because you are challenged when it comes to technology, right? And I get that. So you can also purchase this book. You can purchase it on Amazon as well. So you just take that, search it up. You can buy it used. You can buy it on Kindle. You can, whatever floats your boat, right? Also, you can look into a little bit. The other one is the Bible Knowledge Commentary. But this is some good stuff. I love this topic about the waters above and the waters below. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. So just want to encourage you guys, let God be in the forefront of your hearts and your minds. Don't get discouraged either. And the reason I'm saying don't get discouraged, don't get discouraged if you have some problems with something like, hey, I don't get this, or I'm having a hard time with this. Let it motivate you. Let it motivate you. So, also, I want to let you know that if you've got something, yes, you can ask. I do want you to ask. I'm not saying don't ask questions, but if you've got something you want to discuss or you want me to talk about on the podcast and help you, I will do a couple of things. Number one, I'll explain to you some of the rationale if you've got a particular question. I'm not against that. We'll talk about it. Number two, I will also show you how to find those, and I will help source you and resource you into those things so that you can have a more productive time with the Lord. So, hey, please throw them at me. We've got plenty when it comes to Genesis, but you can do that a variety of ways. You can email me. I don't think anybody realistically emails me. So let me say it this way. You can text me. You can call me. Like, hey, it's okay. Call me, text me. And if you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, I believe you can leave me a voicemail. There's an option on there. And you can leave me a voicemail and you can say, hey, can you cover just this one topic? And I might ask you for a clarifying question. But then here's the good news, guys. We also get to do this on Wednesday nights, right? When we come together, we're going to get together. I'm going to offer kind of like a buffet. I'm jotting down different topics and I'm going to say, you want to talk about this, and this? And then we can kind of decide as a group what's going to be more beneficial to us. So not a buffet in a bad way. Man, why do I refer to everything in terms of food, right? Like I'm talking about marinating, I'm talking about buffet. That must mean I'm hungry. That's my cue to go. So folks, thank you for tuning in. May God bless you. I'm praying for you. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to Al Pastor with Brian Overturf. If you found value in this, please subscribe and get updates. Most places podcasts are available. We're right here on Anchor FM through Spotify, also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. I hope you'll tune in for the next episode. Until then, we'll see you later.